Hey guys! Enjoying our reaction videos? If you are, please click the link to the reacted video in the description and show the creator lots of support. Thanks guys! Okay guys, here we go with part 2 of TFS's Dragon Ball Top 24 Villains. This is really cool for me on a lot of different fronts. First of all, because it's Team 4-Star, and anything that Team 4-Star does is always fucking awesome. But a big part of it too is, with my knowledge still of Dragon Ball overall still being somewhat limited, some of these villains I don't even really know, and it's fun learning about them. And not only that, it teaches me a lot more of the backstory of, or not even just the backstory, but the overall story of the villains that I am familiar with. And you know, who better to do something like this than TFS, because I can't imagine any more of a great resource to go to for anything Dragon Ball. So I really get enthused for these. These are a lot of fun to watch. So here it is. This is part 2 of December 2016 Dragon Ball Top 24 Villains. I wonder if I made the list. No, I'm just a generic villain. I'm not a cool Dragon Ball one. Shit. I still want to be a Saiyan.
Evil scientist Brandon and his
19 and 20.
Okay, point's been made. Moving on. Androids 19 and 20, the latter commonly being known as Dr. Gero, are intriguing villains. Design-wise, concept-wise, they really take the science fiction angle the series adopted in the last arc and ramped it up to 11.
The Red Ribbon Army had already introduced the
19 was... I'd like to learn more about 19 too, because again, another guy I don't have a lot of knowledge of his backstory. Well, not his backstory, but of his whole story within the series. I remember him getting his head knocked off. That was cool.
Concept of androids way back in the early days of the franchise. But here we see the concept fully fleshed out as the driving force of the story.
Dr. Gero being the mastermind behind the original Red Ribbon androids is a really cool concept, and as a revenge tale,
Dr. Gero
should work on paper. Unfortunately, it falls short for
pedo,
a
creepy
reasons.
looking.
A good portion we can chalk up to executive meddling, but we'll get to that.
Their first appearance in the series is one of the most violent, disturbing chain of events to take place in the series.
This piece
and
I saw
immediately establishes these two as both a threat to our heroes and to humanity. They
now,
make no qualms.
You guys know this better than I do. Isn't that sad how bad my memory is? I've seen this. I watched it on a reaction video, right? You guys watched this with me when I saw these two. I'm pretty sure you did, because there are some things that I stumbled upon and watched on my own.
These two as both a threat to our heroes and to humanity. They make no qualms murdering innocent people.
Yeah, because I remember them going
a hand
that
straight
shit
through Yamcha's chest in a sequence that, frankly, is unsettling on every level. It's such a brilliant beginning to these two characters that, unfortunately, just fizzles out by the end.
Yeah, and there's a reason for that, and oddly enough, it comes down to their designs. You see, a Chinese doll and an old man dressed for a trip on the Titanic aren't exactly the first visuals that come to mind when you think about major Dragon Ball villains.
A Chinese doll and an old man dressed for a trip on the Titanic, that's perfect.
In an interview in Shenlong Times
Fucking excellent analogy.
Toriyama quotes Torishima, "I thought that the enemies had finally come. But aren't these just a geezer and a fatso?" Toriyama had not planned for another set of villains. So he ended up scrapping them for...
I'm a little offended being both a geezer and a fatso. What the fuck?
Not planned for another set of villains. So he ended up scrapping them for androids 17 and 18.
That is an upgrade.
To affect their ranking, of course.
Big upgrade.
But it does explain why they start so strong and then are so quickly set aside for their younger counterparts. But ultimately, there's a lot of enjoyment to be pulled from these creepy mechanical bastards.
That makes sense.
Including giving Vegeta one of the most badass Super Saiyan transformations in the series, and the introduction of the Big Bang Attack.
Yeah,
Thanks, 19. You proved robots
I did get the feel that they just kind of fizzled out. That much I did have a feeling for, so I get that.
Oh shit, okay.
Broly's only 17?
This idiot's got a terrifying design, and his shtick of being the legendary Super Saiyan works well in concept, but it's poorly executed from start to finish. His motivation ranges from weak to laughable, and 2/3 of his films are utter garbage. He only made this list because of his impact on the audience of the franchise, and we all wish he'd been stabbed a couple more times as a baby as to save us from suffering and having to sit through his film clip.
We all wish he'd been stabbed a couple more times as a baby. That's not something, that's not a sentiment you ever go into any video expecting to hear, but in this case, yeah, I totally get it.
franchise, and we all wish he'd been stabbed a couple more times as a baby.
That's
to save
fucking
us from
awesome.
suffering time to sit through his film a collective 5 times to give you the abridged version. Speaking of which, we hope you enjoy it. We loved working on it, and we love you all so much.
16.
These guys are
You'll
really
have to
good.
excuse
Every
us, as
I
it's
say
only
it all
going
the
to be
time.
myself and Kaiser this time.
Yeah, for some
Oh,
reason,
man.
Taka's been tied up and gagged in the storage room.
Nappa only
He's
made
alive.
16.
Nappa isn't exactly the first character that people think of when they hear best Dragon Ball villains. At least not until we became a thing anyway. But backpatting aside, he's actually a very effective enemy in the Saiyan saga.
The death of major characters up until this point was something that the franchise had already become familiar with, but the utter onslaught Nappa lays down is nothing short of monstrous, and it all
Yeah,
climaxes
that's
with
cool,
the death
because
of the
that I've
only
seen enough to
character who
understand.
absolutely could not die, effectively taking away their get out of death free card and setting up for the entire next arc.
His design is intimidating,
And
his
he's- yeah.
actions are ferocious.
I was just gonna say that, and
His
he's badass
personality
looking.
is pretty run-of-the-mill meathead death machine. Sure, he's got some great
But I like
expressions,
that.
but his standalone personality leaves him better suited to being a lackey than serving as a primary threat. That being said, he fills that job better than almost any other character in the franchise.
Not to mention, he's also part of one of the...
You know what I have noticed about that? And I want to see. I just stopped this. So I want to ask you guys your opinion. I like the DBZA version of Nappa better than the regular Dragon Ball version. I mean, I'm not throwing stones at anything to do with the original. I love the original. I'm just saying this specific character, I like the way they handled him even better than the way he was handled in the original. I'm just curious if any of you guys agree with that or if it's just me being a dipshit again.
Character in the franchise.
Not to mention, he's also part of one of the biggest memes to ever grace the... Hey, what?
It's over.
Kids, do you like violence?
Taka, get back in the room!
There is no Taka now. There is only Nappa.
15.
You know who was a fun villain? Pilaf. What if you took him, but then made him effective?
Now, him I only know a little bit
Or
about.
Frieza.
Okay, but what about Garlic Jr.?
What about Garlic Jr.?
What
The
about?
guy's the only villain in the franchise to actually get his wish for immortality. Well, outside of a certain series that recently was released, but we're not talking about that right now. Unlike King Piccolo, who wished for his youth back like an idiot,
Oops,
he
there's a
goes
little
straight
slap.
for immortality.
What's more, he has a background that's firmly rooted in the lore of the franchise. Being the disgraced son of a banished would-be commie out for revenge is a really neat concept.
Oh, I don't.
While not a lot is done with it,
I didn't know about
it's
this.
definitely a backstory that helps pull together a great group of characters to fight.
Is that the flying monkeys from Wizard of
He's
Oz? They
also
freaked
such
me
a
out.
great-looking character. A vicious little gremlin
Yeah,
clad in
I like
robes.
his look.
He really does look like Emperor Pilaf's evil twin brother, and it kind of works. His henchmen also sport some neat designs, though they mostly serve to give Goku and Piccolo some fantastic fight scenes. His transformed state, on the
Goku
other
and
hand,
Piccolo kick
while
the shit
not
out of him.
bad, doesn't really have much going for it.
Wait, does that mean transformation started with Garlic Jr.? Huh. Maybe Toriyama did borrow more from the anime than we thought. By the way, he's a pretty effective villain whose film left a heavy impact on the franchise as a whole. He also had a saga in the show, but...
We're not going to talk about that. It's garbage, and we all know it's garbage. But Dead Zone is a delight.
These guys are
for
right to
fans
the
of
point.
both the original Dragon Ball and its follow-up Z. And Garlic Jr.'s design, along
Excuse
with
me,
his
guys.
concept, certainly add to that.
Now, if only he hadn't gone full hubris and opened the Dead Zone, effectively the only thing that could beat him.
Never go full hubris.
Oh, okay. Never go.
14.
That's good information to have. That I didn't
Imagine
realize
being
either.
a kid who grew
Oh,
up
not
watching Dragon
Raditz.
Ball, like the original
Oh, come
Dragon Ball.
on. How is
You've
he
seen
ahead of
Son Goku
Nappa?
grow from a young boy into a man, and now he's got a wife, a kid, a family.
Goddamn
You'd think
Radish.
This is where the series would end, right?
Instead, Toriyama decides he's going to shake up the very foundation of the series a whole 4 years into the manga's serialization by introducing the main character's long-lost brother, Raditz.
Let's be frank. Raditz is not a great villain. He's there for a total of
Excuse
5
me, guys.
episodes of the anime and a total of 10 manga chapters. After his appearance, he is soon forgotten and only ever referenced in the Saiyan saga as a measuring stick for Vegeta and Nappa.
His personality also doesn't have much that sets him apart.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Though his
he just-
savagery as an interplanetary destroyer
me, he's
of
like
races definitely sets him apart from the villains.
A
before
wrestling
him.
gimmick
He's also got
that
a
never takes off,
ridiculously memorable
just
design
becomes
with his
forgettable.
long hair and intimidating figure. How long do you think it takes him to dry that hair, by the way? I'm guessing 3 hours? 2 on a hot day.
Like, for any of you who are wrestling fans, it makes me think of, like, okay, you got a legend in the business like Kane. Even guys, people who are casual wrestling fans or not wrestling fans that all know who Kane is because his character became so huge. Before that, he had other gimmicks, including Dr. Isaac Yankum, DDS. He was a big, badass dentist with bad teeth. Gimmick didn't catch on. Great wrestler, just needed the right gimmick. Same thing with Yamcha. He might be a decent fighter, but the gimmick sucked.
How long do you think it takes him to dry that hair, by the way? I'm guessing 3 hours? 2 on a hot day.
You're assuming Saiyans bathe. Oh man, imagine being stuck in one of those pods for an entire year. Of sweat after a good night's sleep. Either way, he
Or
looks
that hair
awesome, and his
getting
battle with
greasy.
Goku and Piccolo is also particularly memorable.
They pull out all the stops to beat him, and it takes the sacrifice of Goku, the main character, to finally take the Pineapple Head down. It's an amazing
Pineapple
scene,
Head, that's
too.
good.
The Makanko Sapo is certainly not wasted on Raditz.
Unfortunately, what is wasted is opportunity. They introduced the main character's brother as an antagonistic force, but he's eliminated almost as soon as he's introduced. 10 chapters out of the 519 is pretty sad. It
Yeah.
doesn't change what his appearance meant for the franchise and the impact he had on the fan base regardless.
Oh brother, where art thou?
Yeah, that's
All right,
true
he's
in
hell.
that respect.
Let's
I
never
mean,
talk about this again.
he wasn't around long, but everybody, I mean, even people like me,
Kaiser,
whose
don't
knowledge is
freak out.
limited, everybody who has even a little
just
knowledge
calm
of Dragon Ball
down.
seem to know who Raditz is,
I'm
though.
okay, guys. I'm cool.
Baby.
Kaiser, please.
Stop yelling at us!
Guys, it's fine. Baby's kind of cool.
Excuse you?
Look, I hate GT as much as the next guy. As
Oh,
long as the
Mr.
next
Satan.
guy has a hatred that spans
Oh, he's
all
GT
multiverses.
character. Okay, I haven't
But
seen
like
him
you
out of
said,
GT.
It happened. Trying to ignore what it meant to the franchise would be doing a disservice to it as a whole. I'm not
The
just
mustache.
going to dismiss it whole
I like
hog,
that.
and I'm going to recognize that Baby was a really neat concept.
His backstory is rather convoluted, but to sum it up, Baby
Should
is
I
the
learn more
creation
about
of
him,
the
guys?
Tuffles, a race invented for the anime as a warring collective against the Saiyans. While the Saiyans were depicted as brutish, bloodthirsty warriors, the Tuffles demonstrated advanced technology that overpowered the might of the Saiyans. They were captured on planet Tuffle, a
Some of
reformed
this I
planet
knew.
Plant, which
Yeah,
then became
some of
planet
this.
Vegeta after the full moon rose, and it just gets really confusing.
You can boil Baby's motivation down to, you guys took my planet, I want it back. So this planet-hopping parasite takes a few
General.
bodies, claims Vegeta's, and by the time Goku and Co
I don't know
return,
anything about
the
this.
entire planet is possessed by this conniving little devil. When
Damn.
it comes to feats of villainy, it's hard to top actually taking over the planet.
Yeah,
No,
good
I'm
point.
not alone in my problems with Baby, though. He does possess Vegeta, effectively removing him from the entire arc, which is a huge disservice to the character. Same thing happens to Oob. While the inception of Majub is touching, he amounts to nothing. His backstory is incredibly confusing.
So they really
His
didn't
design
do
is
much with
pretty
Oob
bad.
either after what
But a
I
single
saw, where
motivation
he
does
basically
provide
came
a
to
new
be.
stage for noteworthy Saiyan imagery. Planet Vegeta comes back in control of a Vegeta. The Earth serves as a surrogate for the Moon in Goku's Super Saiyan 4 transformation. And Baby revives the Great Ape form with a golden tinge this time. It's a fun highlight of what defines the Saiyans as we saw them.
That's
in the
kind of neat
past.
looking.
He definitely has problems, but as far as villains go, he actually executed some pretty nasty stuff. His arc is maybe the best that GT ever had, and while still mediocre to bad at parts, Baby's origins and motivations propelled the transformation.
Again,
to
guys,
Super
should I
Saiyan
learn more
4.
about
Does
him,
Goku
or
dye his body
I
hair?
know a lot of you are gonna go, no,
Where
it's
did his
GT, leave
hands
it
come
alone.
from? Wasn't he a kid?
His arc has a lot of great moments that unfortunately just don't salvage it. As a character, he's petulant and sniveling rather than insidious. But as a villain, Baby certainly is memorable. Maybe Final Bat had something to do with that.
Oh, look, something worse than GT itself.
Oh, that was harsh. These are so good. I'm just enjoying the shit out of these, out of learning more and more about the characters. Now, see, Baby, that's kind of fascinating to me. Again, I know it's GT, and a lot of you guys tell me, stay away from GT. It's poisonous. You will immediately contract cancer. It's worse than playing in a stream next to a leaky nuclear power plant. And all that said, should I watch a little more about Baby, or no? It's just take what TFS just taught me and, take that as words of wisdom to just go like this and just push it to the side.